Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to Jets Media. This is Richie. In this video, we'll be breaking down the tight end position on the next episode of the brand new series I created here on Jets Media, where we will be breaking down each position group on the New York Jets. We already talked about the offensive line. If you guys are new to Jets Media, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I got a lot of fun Jets content coming your way all throughout the rest of the offseason. And of course, guys, if you're enjoying the video, do not forget to thumbs it up. And if you guys want to check me out over on Instagram and Twitter, that is at NYJets_media. And also, guys, comment down below your thoughts of the tight end position. Are you guys optimistic about it heading into the season on paper? What's your expectation in terms of a specific player popping off? I would love to hear what you guys have to say down below in the comments. Now, without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, that being Greenbean. Greenbean, welcome to the show, my man.
What's up, Richie? I'm happy to be here, my friend. This is going to be fun.
I'm happy to have you on. So as you guys can tell, I have a whole series here on Jets Media where we break down each position group, and I want to have a special guest to talk about each position. And when I reached out to Greenbean, I was thinking to myself, okay, which position group do I want to talk about with Greenbean? And the tight end position was the first position that came to my mind, and that's exactly what we will be talking about in today's video. So Greenbean, what's your thoughts about the tight end room? You see this on paper right here.
Yeah.
Overall, just give me your overall, when you look at this, your first reaction heading into 2022. What's your thoughts?
Well, I have to say, the first feeling that I have is relief. Like, finally we joined the NFL and we actually put some legitimate resources into a very, very important position. For many years, it's been looked at by the Jets, and this is through numerous different regimes. It's been an afterthought. I mean, they've used a couple first round picks over the past 20 years. You had Kyle Brady, we had Anthony Becht in 2000, and then we had a second in Jason Marrow, and then we obviously had Dustin Keller in the early 2000s. But other than that, it's been a 6th round pick, a 4th round pick, a scrap heap guy. Look at the guys that we had last year, Ryan Griffin, Daniel Brown, Tyler Kroft. They were all scrap heap. I mean, Tyler Kroft kind of got, a nice free agent contract, but, he's an also-ran. He wasn't, we weren't bidding with anyone else for Tyler Kroft. And it's nice to see the New York Jets actually dive into this thing and go, you know what? Our quarterback needs tight ends. They help in protection. They help as relief and safety valves. And not for nothing, if you work them in, they can be a lethal part of the offense. So we didn't just go get one. We got 3, and we already had 2. So I think it's fantastic, and I couldn't be more excited about these guys.
I could not agree more with you, Greenbean. I think my biggest criticism with Joe Douglas as the Jets general manager heading into this offseason, it was, why does he ignore the tight end position? How come he is never doing anything to revamp this room? He has to make sure that the tight end position is at the top of his list heading into the 2022 offseason. And I'm so happy he heard me. He heard Richie from Jets Media talk about it on his channel. I'm just kidding. Imagine that. But I think the reason why this happened is because Mike LaFleur went up to Joe Douglas and said, hey, listen, I got a lot of packages that I can work with 12 personnel. I need the right players to fit the system. And what does Joe Douglas do? He revamps the entire position group with getting 3 big-time players. So is this the best Jets tight end room on paper heading into the season in a long time, or what?
Yeah, I listen, man. I mean, on paper, and that's a nice distinction that you brought up there. On paper, I think it has the potential to be the best tight end room that we've ever had. I mean, we've had one really good tight end at times, and then a bunch of nobodies. And the Jets did this thing, Richie, for far too long, where we would have one guy, all he could do was receive. One guy, all he could do was block. It was like we brought these guys in to do a specific job. And the problem with that is that when he comes on the field, the defense already knows 99 out of 100 plays what this guy's going to be doing. And it doesn't give us that strategical advantage of a guy, a dual purpose tight end. So I think it's really nice to see, man, these guys bringing in 2 guys in free agency, which surprised even me. I knew in my heart we were going to go out there and get a free agent tight end and draft one. But the fact that we brought in 2 in free agency and still used a third-round pick on one. Blew my mind, and I couldn't be happier. This has the potential to be the best tight end group that we've ever had.
I agree. And let's touch up on the two free agent acquisitions first before we get into the depth of that being CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. Now, I think those two players are going to bring way two different things to this Jets organization this year. And what I mean by that is I feel like CJ Uzomah's role on this team is he's going to be productive on the field. He's going to get in the end zone, in the red zone for Zach Wilson. He's going to be a safety blanket. But I think what CJ Uzomah is going to bring to this table that's going to be super important is the culture, is the offensive leader that this offense kind of doesn't really have. You know, the defense has a lot of veterans like CJ Mosley, a lot of guys that have a lot of experience underneath their belt where they can really be a vocal leader on that side of the ball. When it comes to the offense, we're young. We have a young signal caller in Zach Wilson. The wide receivers are young outside of Corey Davis. You know, the offensive line has some veterans on there like George Fant that was a captain, but we don't really have that guy that can come to this team and galvanize people. And what perfect player would be a CJ Uzomah who went to the Super Bowl with the extremely young Cincinnati Bengals team last year with the year 2 quarterback of Joe Burrow. And CJ Uzomah was a fan favorite over there. As you know, Greenbean, he was the guy in the locker room or in the tunnel before heading onto the field, giving him those pep talks. So I feel like the culture element of CJ Uzomah is going to be huge. And I also think, speaking of Tyler Conklin real quick, he's going to be a fan favorite when it comes to him on the field. I feel like his receiving ability is top of the line. I'm pretty sure he had 0 drops last year. He has a really good knack of getting open, good spatial awareness, not to mention he's also a really good blocker. So I feel like Tyler Conklin is going to be one of those players that's going to be really productive on the field, while CJ Uzomah will be productive on the field, but he's also going to bring that culture element. So what's your thoughts of both of those players, of CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin?
Yeah, well, look, you know, one of the things, man, that I like to do is to check, like when trades happen or free agent signings happen. I like to, if I get the time, I go to other teams' message boards. Like I come from the message board realm, you know, Jet Nation, and I love to, you know, get together with other fans and kind of break things down. And one of the things I did, I went to, I forget the name of their board, but there's a Bengals message board, and I went over there the day after we signed him to kind of get a feel of, you know, how the fans are looking at a move. And they hated it. They couldn't believe that they let CJ Uzomah go. And the Bengals wanted him, which is, I find fascinating, Richie. Second-year quarterback, Joe Burrow. They just went to the Super Bowl. They have a dynamic offense. Everything's going for them there. They wanted CJ Uzomah. We didn't blow the doors off with a crazy contract or anything like that. And he chose to come here, which is really interesting to me. You know, kind of, you know, you might deduce that he's got some confidence in Zach Wilson and Mike LaFleur and all those kinds of things. But you're so right. He brings that really likable leadership. He's a great communicator. He's known to be a great communicator, and not like communicator. He's able to get his leadership and support the offense and kind of gel whatever messages the coaches are trying to put forth. He's also known to be very intelligent, football smart. So I think that he's going to be that, you know, a benefit to Mike LaFleur. Like you said, we have young guys all over the place. Even our vets, AVT, Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, they're second-year players. So we have so many young players. I think it's only, it really fits well when you take a guy who's going into his 8th year. He's not old by any stretch, but he does have 7 years of experience, just went to the Super Bowl, and he's no slouch in the passing game either. I mean, he had 49 catches last year, 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's a guy who can get it done as well. He's nice and big. And I think, you know, him coupled with Conklin, who's interesting because he's just coming up, man. He's just beginning to hit his prime. He had 61 receptions last year. These guys bring on 110 additional receptions that we pretty much didn't have last year. You know, if you took Croft, Griffin, Brown, Westco, Yaboa, added them all together, it doesn't touch what these guys brought to their team. So having both of them come on, they both are above average blockers. So they're going to add that protection. They're big body guys. And again, CJ Uzomah is that wise, great communicating veteran. Conklin, a vet, but he's still really young. I think he's going into his fourth year, maybe. Let me take fifth year. So he's going into his fifth year. He's about to hit his prime, and he's popping at the right moment. In my opinion, we're getting Tyler Conklin at the exact moment when he's about to become who he becomes. And if you look at what LaFleur was trying to do, you brought it up. He tried last year to utilize 12 personnel, 22 personnel with 2 backs and 2 tight ends on the field. We didn't have the personnel to make that succeed. The first 4 games of the season, he tried that so much. He was shoehorning 12 personnel into the offense, and it didn't work. It wasn't until I think it was game 5 where he started just resigning. I guess I got to do more 11. I mean, that's what it is. We have receivers, my tight ends, and Wesco as a fullback. It's not working. Let me bring on the wide receivers, and we'll go back to the drawing board this year, which is why it's so cool. We saw what Mike LaFleur wants to do. Now he's got the horses to do it.
Thank you, Joe Douglas, for finally revamping this tight end room, man. It's really exciting that we got these 2 players in free agency. And then now let's talk about the rookie that the New York Jets bring in at the end of the 3rd round, the Long Island native, a guy I actually met. I went to the meet and greet over in Lindenhurst at Ralph a couple weeks ago.
That.
Awesome to shake his hand and talk to him. So Greenbean, what's your thoughts of Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State? And what do you think his role is going to be as a rookie?
Well, it's so interesting with him because if you're one of those box score people that just looks at the end of the year stats, you could come away very unimpressed with what he does in the passing game. But the year before with Justin Fields, when we were watching, the championship games and the playoffs, all that stuff, dude, he was an absolute security blanket for Justin Fields. And he doesn't come up with a lot of catches, but the ones he does are so important and acrobatic, one-handed. I think that his hands are so underutilized and so underappreciated because he's such a good blocker that guy is he's just a powder keg waiting to explode, man. I mean, that's my honest opinion. Now, when they brought in Conklin and Uzomah in free agency, I had really abandoned the idea that the top 3 rounds that we would use a tight end anywhere in the top 3 rounds. Before they brought those guys in, we were all talking about the 2nd round pick, but Ruckert was on all of our lists. I mean, he was He was one of our favorite guys to bring in. And that's just because of the player. When you add the fact that he's a Jets fan his whole life, grew up in Long Island, his dad is just the best in the whole world. He's one of us, man. We've been at games with that guy. You know what I mean? He was there with us. And it's just so cool when you add that wrinkle to it. It's just, it adds so much more feeling that this is the right move. Dude, I wouldn't even put past them that they didn't include that Jets fan thing. I bet that they included that into their evaluation. But Ruckert is worthy of the 3rd round pick. I mean, if it wasn't going to be us, if we were going to push it to the 4th round because we already brought in 2 free agents, then so be it. But they wanted him just in the same way that they wanted Breece Hall. They wanted him. They want that running back for their offense. They want this tight end for their offense. And I applaud it because, again, we know what LaFleur wants to do. Don't play games. Make sure he has the players that he needs to do what he wants to do. You give him Breece Hall, you give him 2 vet tight ends, and you give him a young guy to mold right next to Kenny Yeboah. And I think it's fantastic. I'm excited for Ruckert. I think that they'll fold him in slowly, relatively. I wouldn't think that he's going to come out and be the starter, but that's okay because we got the other 2 guys. Let them come in nice and slow, bring them up the right way, and let them have impact plays and learn this offense the right way.
And that's the best part about the draft pick of Jeremy Ruckert, because usually when we're drafting these players, we give them a lot of playing time right away, which is a good thing, which is what we did last year. But at the same time, now we actually have 2 veterans ahead of him. So Jeremy Ruckert, that pick was kind of more of not his production in 2022. It's more of the long term. We want him to become that tight end number 1 in 2 or 3 years, because the contracts we gave CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin are 3-year deals that you could get out of after even year 1 or year 2, because all the money's pushed in the front of the years. So that Jeremy Ruckert picks tells me that Joe Douglas is trying to make sure that they have a long haul of the tight end group, because we don't want to just band-aid this position getting veterans and veterans, 1-year deals. They want to get that guy that they can develop. And what two perfect veterans for Jeremy Ruckert to learn behind of CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. So Greenbean, let's talk about the depth of the this position, because there's other guys on this roster outside of the three players we already brought up, that being CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, and Jeremy Ruckert. So we got Kenny Yeboah, we got Trevon Wesco, and we also have Lawrence Cager, who's an interesting tight end all of a sudden, who we got him as an undrafted free agent wide receiver a couple drafts ago, and now he has transitioned into a tight end. So say, unfortunately, we all know that injuries are part of the game of football. What's your thoughts of the depth behind the top three guys in case there are some injuries?
Yeah, well, first thing I'll say is I do think that the three guys we've been discussing are the top three guys. Now, the one out of the next guys who I think has the most upside and should be maybe a leg up on, getting that final roster spot or just making sure that they make the team is Kenny Yeboah. I really love that player. I mean, he was another guy that was a wide receiver in college at Temple, was told basically you're not going to make it at a wide receiver. So he put on 35 pounds of muscle, and over the years, was able to develop that tight end role, went to Ole Miss and exploded. And he's one of those guys, he will do anything that you ask. Now, he lacks a little bit in the inline blocking. He's really a strong blocker once he gets into the defensive backfield, but he's not very good in line. He'll do it. He's willing, but he's not very effective in there. Now, maybe they can work on that with him, but I love his pass catching ability and the fact that he can block in the defensive backfield. I think Yeboah adds a little bit more of the dynamic that the other three guys don't. He's that athletic receiving tight end that I think he's alone in this group when you're really talking about that skill set. Now, Wesco, who I happen to like a great deal, is another guy I think his hands are underappreciated. I mean, he's not known for dropping the ball. He's not known for, for having any issues in that department. And he's also, once he gets the ball in his hands, he tends to make big plays. He runs guys over. He likes to make them drag him to the ground. He doesn't just go down on first contact. And I think that's a big thing with him. And I like Wesco. They tried him at fullback last year. Look, he had his okay plays, but overall, I think it was a flop. I don't think he did too well at the fullback position. I do like him, but it just might be time. And don't forget, he's a McCagnon pick. He's one of like three guys left. And they might be looking to move on from him because Kenny Yeboah, I think, would have the roster spot over him if they were going head to head. Now, Cager's really fun because he was, he's a 6'5" guy. His college stats are so ridiculous. I mean, he was hurt so much that he only had something like 19 receptions in college, but 18 of them were touchdowns or something like that. It's ridiculously crazy. So he's obviously got the hands. He's super talented. He's got the size, the length, the speed, everything you want, but the guy cannot stay healthy up to this point. They even in 2020, he had his chance. I mean, because of injuries, he was on the field. He played a couple games really well. We had hope, and he got hurt again. So the interesting thing with him is they put on a bunch of muscle. I think 20, 25 pounds of muscle on him. Maybe that'll help him stay healthy. I don't know, but it seems to me that a wide receiver with injury problems going into a more contact position isn't gonna bode well for him. I'd love to see him work out. Who can't use a 6'5" guy with good hands? But I don't know. I think Lawrence Cager might be relegated to practice squad at best.
Yeah, and honestly, that's not really a problem in my eyes. I think for Lawrence Cager to transition to become a tight end, and he's a tight end off the practice squad, I'm okay with that. And I love that you are, singing high praise for Kenny Yeboah, because his name was called at the end of last year in that Buccaneers game. He flashed, had a couple of receptions.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that signing from Joe Douglas last year in the undrafted free agency pool. And I would love Kenny Yeboah to really make the roster, make the 53-man roster, be tight end number 4, and go out there and make some plays when his name is called. So the final question I have for you, Greenbean, if you can give me a prediction, how many receiving yards, how many receptions, and how many touchdowns is the tight end position going to get collectively in 2022? Give me your bold take.
All right. Let's say in total, okay, I'm looking at 40 plus receptions for the two starters. That's what I'm looking at. I think they're going to hit them heavy. So let's say 105 receptions for the whole group. Kenny Yeboah, Ruckert, and everybody. 105 receptions. We're going to get 12 touchdowns and 14,000 yards. No, so
Wow.
and let's say 1,000 yards. So 105, 12 touchdowns, 1,000 yards total. What
Love
do you
it.
think?
My answer was 1,000+ yards and 7+ touchdowns and 100+ receptions. So we're on the
There you go.
same. We're
Yeah,
thinking the same thing right there, Greenbean. So
we're
it
right
was a
there.
pleasure having you on, talking the tight ends with you, Greenbean. I know that you're very passionate about this specific position group, and I thought, why not get Greenbean on, because the Jets are finally doing it right with this position group. I'm so excited to see what this position can do in 2022 under Mike LaFleur, with Zach Wilson heading into year number 2 of the system. Anything else you'd like to say before we end off the video, my man?
No, man. I'm happy to be here anytime I can spend with you. I appreciate. So yeah, let's watch this tight end room actually compete at an NFL level, Richie. So
Let's
thanks
score
for
some
having me on,
touchdowns.
my friend.
Always a pleasure having you on, Greenbean. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the Greenbean channel, that is down below in the description. I do not know why you're not subscribed to him if you're not already. If you are already, you know what you're doing. You're a great Jets fan. So, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Do not forget to like the video if you guys enjoy, and comment down below with Jet emoji if you stayed all the way until the end of this long video of Greenbean and I breaking down the tight end position of the New York Jets. That does it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Let's go, Jets. Peace.